So I made a video about setting up your presenter display in Apple's Keynote for iPad, and I got lots of questions from you guys. And so what I decided was there's too big of a difference between presenter display in Apple's Keynote on iPad and presenter display in Apple's Keynote on your Mac. And so this I consider an open letter to Apple, and just to see if those of you who watch and subscribe to my videos agree with me. They definitely need to bring some of the features that are available, or all the features that are available for Apple Keynote on Mac when it comes to presenter display, over to Apple Keynote on iPad. Let me show you how big the differences are, and this will help answer some of the questions some of you have been asking me. Here we have Apple Keynote open on our iPad, and I showed you that if you go in the top center here, you can tap on this icon, and you're all of a sudden in this rehearsal mode where you can practice your presentation. In the top right corner, there's 3 icons. The X will get you out of here and back to editing your presentation. This middle icon allows you to set up your different layout options. You can show just your current slide, current and next, current with your notes, your current notes and your next slide, or just your notes. And so I've gotten a lot of questions about, can you resize these? Can you move things around? Can you show both the time and the countdown clock? And the answer is no. All you can do is choose one of these pre-configured layouts, and that's what you're able to do. The other thing I showed you in the video was if you go over here and you tap on this pencil icon, now on your screen, at the very bottom, this toolbar shows up, and you could have simply a marker that draws around. You can have a laser pointer that shows up on the screen. But I got questions about, can you change the thickness of these lines? And the answer is no. Can you use more than the 7 colors that are provided here? And the answer is no. You are very limited when you draw on the screen to these options only. And I know why some of you asked this question, because if you use Freeform or Notes, you know that Apple can do so much more on the iPad with the Apple Pencil than what it's allowing you to do in Keynote. Let me show you. This is Apple's Freeform app, and if we go in here and decide to draw, we go on the top and tap on this icon. At the bottom here, you have your toolbar similar to Keynote, but wow, there's so many more options. If you tap on this, you can change the thickness of what you draw with from very thin to super thick. You can even change the opacity if you want to make it more see-through. That is a responsive pen. You can draw one that's always a straight line. Even that, you can change the thickness. You can use a highlighter. You can use a pencil or an eraser to erase certain spots. You can take portions of this and move it around the screen. There's a ruler if you want a guide for straight lines. If you slide over, you have a pencil for sketching on your screen. You have this tube that whatever you draw, it will fill in, which would be really handy. You have this crayon, which also doubles as being able to use for chalk. You have a fountain pen, which is responsive to the tilt of your Apple Pencil, and you have this great fabulous brush that's like watercolor on your screen. And then over here, it starts you out with 5 colors, but you can go in and choose any color you want. You even have the option to go through a whole spectrum of colors, sliders, or punching in your own code if you know your hex color, changing the opacity. You can use the dropper tool to pick something up. So Apple already has all these great tools built into one of its own apps, Freeform, on the iPad. If that could be brought over into Keynote on iPad, now you have a very powerful drawing tool to use when you're giving a presentation. Now let me show you one workaround for those of you who really want to use those tools. If we're back over here in Freeform, I have gone into Keynote and I have exported 9 different slides from a presentation, and I brought them in here as images. There is a feature now in the bottom left corner of Freeform where you can set up scenes, and then if you wanted to, you can then use the arrow in that bottom left corner, and you can advance through your slides just as if you were in Keynote, showing them one at a time. And then if you wanted to go up here and bring in your writing tools, now you do have the option to bring up all those tools to adjust them to whatever size and thickness you want, where you can draw something and have it show up on your screen like you'd like it to. And one of the great things with this is it will stay as you move throughout your presentation here on Freeform. The negative side of this, as you can see on my screen right there, is that it's not as clean. It's showing you the whole user interface. If you were to share this with somebody else, you lose all your animations and builds and everything else you have on here. If you really want a tool where you can draw and respond to your audience, what you could do is switch from Apple's Keynote on your iPad to Freeform and go back and forth. You could even bring in some slides if you wanted to annotate. Maybe you're a teacher, a lecturer, a professor, someone who's taking notes and wants to write things and interact with your audience. You could use Freeform for that, but you lose all of the great animation builds and the clean look of Keynote on your screen, but you don't have all those drawing tools in Apple Keynote on your iPad. So Apple, the first request, can you simply take the same tools you have in Freeform and bring them over to Apple's Keynote, your software, your hardware on the iPad so we can all use those in a presentation that we're giving. The second thing is a little more complicated. It is all the presenter display controls. We have so much flexibility and power and options in Apple's Keynote on Mac. Could we bring those over to presenter display on iPad? Let me show you again. If we're in Keynote in our presenter display, if we want to customize it, all we have are these presets, and that's it. We can't change anything else. The only other thing we can tweak on here is if we tap on our clock, it can become a timer that counts up as we present and not even counts down. Now here we have Apple Keynote open on our Mac. And if we go up to the top and choose Play, Customize Presenter Display, we have so many more options. If you look at this window here, you can turn on and off each of these. Current slide, next slide, presenter notes. You have your live videos come through. You can show animations. Ready to advance indicator. This is the green bar at the top that turns red when an animation is happening and turns green when it's done, so you know ready to go. You can turn your clock on and off. Your timer, like we've said before, it is default elapsed, which means it shows you how long you've been talking if you're in your iPad Keynote. But you can change it here to remaining. You can preset how long you want to talk and have it count down to 0, so you're constantly aware of how much time you have left. That's not even the best part. Let's say we want to show current slide, next slide, and notes like we have here with these clocks. If we drag this down out of the way, all of these are resizable. We can make these as big or as small. If we want our current slide to be over here and be a little bit larger, we want our next slide to be smaller, just a little thumbnail for us to look at. Maybe we want to have this on top, this one here at the bottom. We want our presenter notes to be over on the side for us. We want to move our clock down and have it be smaller because that's just a reference for us, but we do want to have it on the screen. All of this on here is adjustable, resizable. You can edit, you can make changes infinitely to what works best for your screen. And here's the deal. I'm showing you all this on a 13-inch MacBook Pro, and I work on a 13-inch iPad Pro. They're almost the exact same screen size. So in reality, I should be able to do the same customizations with presenter display with Keynote on my iPad as I do on my Mac. Even if you have the regular approximately 11-inch iPad screen, it would still be awesome to have at least some of the flexibility to make these changes and rearrange your screen to work best for you versus just the very few defaults that it has set up on your iPad. So there you have it. It's pretty simple. For those of you who've been asking, no, you can't customize your stylus, your Apple Pencil, when you're using Keynote in presenter mode. All you have is the very few options of a laser pointer or the different colors it gives you in the app, and that's it. Whereas in Freeform on the iPad, also by Apple, you have all kinds of customizable options you can choose from. Apple, please bring all the options that we have in Freeform and bring them over to Keynote Presenter Display to give us a more powerful tool when we're giving presentations, especially for engaging our audiences and going non-linear in our presentations. And then Apple, the other thing we're looking for, and this is to answer some of your questions, is when we have Presenter Display, allow us to have the customization we can do with Keynote on our Mac, to resize windows, to choose how we want things to be displayed, not just to have the very few presets that are built into Keynote on iPad, but please give us the options that we have for Keynote on our Mac. iPad is a powerful device. The Apple software for Keynote is an amazing presentation tool, but because these limitations, I still tend to build and prepare my presentations using Keynote on my Mac and then simply deliver it with Keynote on my iPad. Apple, help us out. Really make the iPad a more powerful tool for us, especially when we're mobile and we want to have that freedom and customization. Allow us to do the same customization with presenter display on our iPad that we do on our Macs. Thanks for watching this video. This really was in response to so many questions and comments I was getting from you on some previous videos. If you haven't yet watched the presenter display video and you want to see how that can be used with Keynote on your iPad, even when you're not connected to another display to practice, you can find that in the video that is linked here at the end. And like always, please leave me some comments. Do you agree with this? Is this not a bother for you? Do you think it should be as simple as it is in the iPad? Or do you think, yes, Apple should add this? My video is going to get your view, your thoughts. But if you really want to help out, there's a link in the description for you to fill out the feedback form for Apple to let them know you'd like to see these features submitted as well. I want you to know that the day I publish this video, I filled out that form to specifically send this feature request to Apple to add these features to Keynote for iPad. I'd ask you to do the same. The more of us that do that, the greater they'll see that the users would like to have these things moved over, and maybe we'll see it in a future update. This video was in direct response to your comments and questions, so leave me some more comments and questions below. What would you like to learn how to do, or what would you like to find out if you can do on Keynote for your iPad like you can do for Keynote on your Mac? I've got more videos in the pipeline coming for Keynote on iPad. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.